Oh, a bit deja vu. The future of Nico Williams is very much up for discussion once again, as of course it was last summer after his performance in the Euros, linked to a number of big sides across Europe. Not quite with the same sort of view. Why haven't you got a balcony with a view of the seaside? What's going on, Alex?
No balcony. There are some palm trees just gently swaying outside my window, but it's behind the camera, so you can't actually see them. But I promise you they're there.
There you go. Alex is in California. He is following Real Madrid there. But let's focus, shall we, on Nico Williams, Alex. As I say, here we go again.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, this, because, I mean, winger isn't a position that obviously, I think, Barcelona needs strengthening, going into next season, because two of their best players last season, of course, were Lamine Yamal and Rafinha. Now, there's a lot of talk that maybe Hansi Flick likes the idea of moving Rafinha inside from the left wing into the middle, playing behind the centre forward, instead of someone like Dani Olmo or Fermin, and that leaves a vacancy potentially on the left wing for someone like Nico Williams. It's also interesting that Williams is being linked again, because you mentioned that interest last summer, and I think, to be honest, Nico Williams and his representatives ended last summer a bit annoyed and a bit angry with Barcelona. They felt they've been sort of led down the garden path a bit by Barcelona in terms of talking about their interest and making a lot of noise about potentially bringing Nico Williams in, and then not following through with it, come the end of the summer. Because let's be honest, last year, certainly financially, it wasn't a deal they could do, even though Nico Williams has a fairly accessible, I think, €58 million release clause. So it's interesting that he's being linked again this summer, both positionally and, like I say, because it's him, because of what happened last summer. But it does tell us a lot, I think, about where they're looking to strengthen, about the positions that Hansi Flick likes the idea of bringing in something different, because it hasn't just been Nico Williams, has it? There's been links with Luis Diaz as well in terms of a left-sided forward play.
It's interesting, Alex, because obviously the narrative throughout the whole season was, who needs Williams when you've got Rafinha putting in the performances that he did, obviously, under Hansi Flick last year. And you kind of think, well, why is Hansi Flick wanting to complicate something that works so well?
Yeah, absolutely. Rafinha was one of the best players in not just in Spain, but in Europe, in the Champions League as well. You look at his numbers in terms of goals and assists; he was right up there with any player in Europe. He was one of Barcelona's most important players, with Pedri, with Lamine Yamal. Maybe it's a desire and sort of an understanding from Flick that you have to keep evolving. You have to keep things fresh. That going into this season, they can't just do the same things they did last season. Last season, they were so effective. They were the best team in Spain, one of the best teams in Europe. But maybe you can't just go again. Maybe it's good to shake things up, to look to try something new. And he's seen potentially a way to evolve the team, and I guess in his mind, improve the team. But like I say, if you went through the positions of where you think Barcelona need to strengthen this summer, I don't think left wing is obviously one of them.
Why mess with something that works so well, Stevie? Lewandowski, Lamine Yamal and Rafinha were the best front three in the world last year.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get. I understand if you want to evolve the way you play, but I think if you're going to do that and change it from a season that may have been successful, but if we go a different route, it'll be better.
Yeah.
I don't see how Rafinha can be any better than he was last year. And I just don't see how he's possibly...
So is that the problem? Is Hansi Flick thinking he's going to regress the mean? That we're not going to see the same sort of returns? So he's already looking for backup?
No, I think there's a little bit of the coaches always think they can get something extra out of everybody, and whether it's individuals or whether it's their teams. But I just find it hard how Hansi Flick can think that he's going to get... Listen, if Rafinha wins the Ballon d'Or, there's not going to be that many grumbles. That's how good he was.
There will be. People always grumble.
Is he in the top three?
Yeah, right. Definitely in that conversation.
So you think you're going to change a guy who got to such a heady height of being contender for the Ballon d'Or, and you're going to move him to a different position completely, and that's going to benefit who? It's not going to benefit Rafinha. I don't believe that. And if it doesn't benefit Rafinha, how is it going to benefit Barcelona? So I don't understand it. I wouldn't do it, but I get it. You're always thinking that you can make things better. Sometimes you're better just leaving it alone.
Like Hansi Flick gets paid the big bucks to make these kinds of decisions. And while, okay, maybe he does see Rafinha as playing in that hole in behind a Lewandowski, I'm with Stevie on this. I think you're trying to fix something that isn't broken. And maybe the concern is around Dani Olmo and his fitness and how many games he misses because of injury, and how do you adjust for that? But right now, I don't I don't see the need to move Rafinha any. And as a result, then you're now asking yourself, is Nico Williams going to be as effective on that left-hand side? It just feels like you try, and especially given how hard you work to sign Daniel, well, not only in August, but also in January, just to see him almost be discarded some 6 months later after going to court to make sure he could play the second half of the season, just feels like something is being overdone here, and it doesn't make sense to me.
Meanwhile, interesting enough, yesterday, Alex, we had Gustavo Hoffmann on, obviously well connected within the Brazilian players of the Real Madrid squad. And we talked about the future of Rodrygo, and he was saying that Manchester City would be the preferred destination for the Brazilian international. It's the first time, really, I think, we've heard that sort of link or that sort of rumour. I don't think there's any sort of question that Real Madrid would like Rodrygo to leave to cash in on him, considering, according to Gustavo, he's had enough of playing on the right-hand side. Would Manchester City be a good fit, in your opinion?
With new coach Xabi Alonso about what his idea is for the player, what his idea is for the team, and where he fits in. Because as Gustavo's been saying, Rodrygo doesn't want to play on the right-hand side anymore. He wants to play on the left. That's very difficult at Real Madrid with Vinicius and Mbappe. But equally, Rodrygo, it's not that he's... Yeah, he wants to be at Real Madrid, I think, but playing where he wants to play and being important and being part of the team. It's not like he's desperate to leave Real Madrid unless he gets a very clear message that he isn't part of the coach's plans. I think Rodrygo's people have always been very clear that if he were to in order for him to leave, he'd basically have to tell the club that he wants to leave and effectively put in a transfer request and say, I want to go, and sort of try and force it through, because this is not a player, as you say, that Real Madrid are desperate to let go.
Manchester City, Shank?
Similarly, I'm thinking exactly where he fits in. It has to be in that hole behind Erling Haaland. Because if he doesn't want to play on the right-hand side, you just brought in Gundogan, who's been very effective on the left-hand side.
Gundogan's 104 now.
No, not Gundogan.
Are you thinking Mamouche?
Mamouche, excuse me. Mamouche on that left-hand side. You just brought him in, and he's been very effective on that left-hand side.
But Rodrygo's better, isn't he, than Mamouche there?
I'm not sure, you sacrifice Mamouche for Rodrygo on that left-hand side. Unless, the idea is to move Mamouche more centrally, because that's the only adjustment here, or the only, unless you're trying to figure out who plays in that hole behind Erling Haaland. I'm just not sure where it all these pieces fit.
Yeah, I'm with Shaka. I don't. He's not guaranteed a spot on the left-hand side for Man City.
Why not?
So why would he go?
Why not?
I think Mamouche has been good. Mamouche has been good.
Yeah, I know. Look, Mamouche has been Mamouche, but it's Rodrygo. Look what he's achieved at Real Madrid. Look at his CV. Look at the trophies that he's won.
Right.
Right, what?
Wait, what? He's not been stand out, Dan.
Because he's been
Let's be
playing
honest.
in the wrong position.
Well, according to him.
Well, yes, well, he should know.
Well, so when was the last time he played on the left-hand side?
A long time ago.
Well, there you go. So how do we know? And then
Because when he's been given the opportunity, we know that he can shine.
Come on, no.
No, you're not having it.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's that easy.
I think
I'm with
I
Steve
think
on that.
you're... I think
There's no. I don't think
If we're talking Vinicius Junior, similar CV in terms of what they've won, then you say, well, yeah, Mamouche has got to make room.
You have ditched Mamouche so quickly, Shaq.
For Vinicius Junior. For Vinicius Junior, but I'm not straight off the bat edition for Rodrygo.
I tell you what, Alex, we can see your Arsenal pyjamas folded nicely on the bed behind you. That would make a lot of sense as well, wouldn't it?
Now you're talking sense.
Yes, please. Yes, please. I'd say that. I think Arsenal would be a great destination for Rodrygo, but I am very, very biased in that respect. So maybe don't listen to what I have to say on that subject.
No, but that's a player that you need. You need that position filled. It's an upgrade on everything you've got. Go out and spend some money.
Yeah, Arsenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with you on this.
Yeah.
On the 10 seconds ago, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
But 100%,
Yes,
if you're Arsenal, you go and sign Rodrygo. There's no question he will be an upgrade on what they have.
Yeah.
That makes complete and utter sense. The one we're talking about before,
All right, we've moved on from that now. We've moved on.
I'm just telling
we
you.
did the Manchester City chat. Now we're talking Arsenal.
Okay.
How much money are you willing to pay out your own pocket for this, Alex?
No, I won't be footing the bill, and money would be a genuine question, because even for Arsenal, I think financially it wouldn't be an easy package in terms of the wages and the kind of transfer fee that Real Madrid would demand. Because I think Real Madrid would be looking for 100 million plus something for a player. That's what they'd want to bring in. And can Arsenal do that? And could they pay the wages as well? And in terms of you guys' debate about Rodrygo, I think, look, he's never found the consistency to match his talent. Everyone agrees that he's incredibly talented, and he's had some of the biggest moments at Real Madrid in the last few years in terms of the Champions League. Those goals against City have come from Rodrygo, but he's never been consistent. He's never scored goals consistently, even when he's got minutes like last season. So that's the big thing for him.
I suppose if you're Arsenal, you're looking at Liverpool bringing in someone like Florian Wirtz. We've already discussed Manchester City making big signings. Arsenal very much behind in that race when it comes to adding to the squad already this season. They have to get a move on.
Absolutely. Listen, Arsenal have had a need for a couple of years that I don't think they've fully addressed even yet. So while Rodrygo is a welcome addition and needed, still not priority number one. But we've had this conversation about Arsenal over the last few years. It's somehow they've addressed every other priority but number one. They need to get that done first of all before you even start talking. And if Alex is saying 100 million for Rodrygo, which seems a little excessive in my opinion, that doesn't leave an awful lot of wiggle room in terms of bringing in that top-class striker that Arsenal quite clearly need. That's 100 million plus spend. I'm not sure you spend 100 plus at this point on a left-sided player.
Meanwhile, Andy Robertson has been linked to a move to Atletico Madrid, Alex. This has come out of nowhere, really, over the last 24 hours. Of course, a man who has been key in Liverpool's success in the past, maybe just gone off the boil slightly, 31 years of age. How's his Spanish, Alex?
That's a very good question. Have you been taking lessons like Trent Alexander-Arnold? I don't know. Have they been taking lessons together? Just to save some money on a Spanish teacher. It's an interesting one, and I think that it makes a kind of sense. We've seen Atletico Madrid target the Premier League once or twice in the last few years. Of course, Conor Gallagher moving last summer. We saw Kieran Trippier a few years ago come and be incredibly important for Atletico at fullback in maybe a similar sort of role that Robertson might fill, albeit on the other side. And I can see Robertson as a Simeone player. Atletico have had some, I have this sort of stereotype about them being a defensive team, but they do like to have fullbacks who get forward. They play, a midfielder in Marcus Llorente often on the right-hand side. Left back has been an issue for Atletico. They haven't been happy with the options there. We know it's one of the positions they want to strengthen this summer. And if Andy Robertson is available and would like to move and fancies life in Spain for a year or two, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense for him.
Does it make sense for Atleti?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, no question. Listen, Andy Robertson last season wasn't the Andy Robertson of previous years.
Right.
So clearly we're talking about maybe a wee step that's not there. At the same time, when he goes to Atletico Madrid, he's not going to have the same amount of running to do, in my opinion, which means he's going to be stronger, particularly in the second part of each game. So I think for Andy Robertson himself, it makes sense. I can tell you that I wish I had left Liverpool probably 18 months before I did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I blindly thought somehow I was going to get back in the team when everything that was going on around me, including the starting 11, I wasn't in it.
Right.
And so if Kirkland signs, which we believe we will, there's no clearer sign for Andy that he's now second fiddle. And so he's got a choice. Does he play second fiddle and he's quite happy? Now, from a Liverpool fan's point of view, that's perfect. You bring in Kirkland, you've still got Robertson. He's not playing so much games. He's going to be stronger. He's going to be better. So from a fan's point of view, from a Liverpool point of view, it makes sense for Andy Robertson to be the backup. But it doesn't make sense for Andy Robertson. He needs to play. He's 31. If he understands he's not going to be starting, go to a place like Atletico Madrid, 100%.
Makes sense, Jack?
Absolutely. And just kind of given who Atleti are, how they play, I think this serves Andy Robertson wonderfully well.